Rodney, thank you so much for joining us. I am really excited to hear your story. You had an NDE, so other than that, I'm not going to share anything. If you could just bring us back to what actually happened and maybe a bit about who you were before.
Okay, no problem. I've had an incredible, amazing life. Before this, I was actually working at the time as a able-bodied seaman working on tugboats. Previous to that life, I was working for a large retail company, multi-billion-dollar company, and previous to that was I was also a professional fly fishing guide in Alaska. So I've got to had several many dream jobs, and I was very fortunate and basically I could say divinely guided to these different locations, almost like very seamlessly happening in how they approached and worked in. But then I had left my again the high retail job that I really enjoyed, but I'm like something else is calling me. I need to get back to the water. I missed the water from being a guy in Alaska, so I got and started working on tugboats. And I was with a new company, and unfortunately, I was waiting for another hitch to get on with another tugboat, and they put me on the shore side, so I was basically acting as a longshoreman, working on the port and loading up barges. And on this fateful day back in July 19th, 2017, we were loading up a very large barge that was dealing with 50-ton steel pilings. And we had been loading this barge all week, so now it's about 5 levels high, and these are about 4 foot diameter pilings alone, so they're quite large. And my job was to rig the piling to the crane to the piling, and then help as it would swing around with the crane, and then they would lower it down onto the barge, and there'd be a crew up on top of the barge to help lower it down. But we were down two people that day, so I got called up to do additional double work to climb up and get up onto the stack and help lower it down. So we had just come back from lunch. This was just the barge had just been brought up, and we were loading this first piling, and then they called me up to the stack. So I climbed up the ladder, got up on top. We lowered it down. And as I was coming back to the ladder, I just looked at my watch, and it's like, okay, it's just turning 1 o'clock. I got up, proceeded to get into about the second rung of the top of the ladder. Was just climbing onto it, and all of a sudden, you ever been on the end of a table and someone jars you and you get pushed off? Well, either a tugboat or barge struck the barge I was on, so me and the steel ladder separated from the stack. Teeter, 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 teeter. Everything started to slow down as I'm starting to go on that last teeter. Looking down this way, I could still remember the dust, the rust particles flaking off and seeing them glisten in the sun as I'm coming down through here. I could just feel the tension, but felt like I was going so fast like this, but at the same time so slow. Everything was just coming in, and then as I'm proceeding to go down, I'm looking through the rungs of the ladder, looking down, going down, going down. I'm saying the OS moment, and at about the 45, it was like a pop, and I left, basically because I left my body, my spiritual part of me. But my body had proceeded to continue to go down, and so my body struck the steel ladder at the same time striking the floor of the steel barge. So that was basically death by trauma. We would later come to discover that, yes, 3/4 of my face was broken. My left pectoral major from my shoulder had been separated. They didn't find this out until 6 months later, though. That's another part of the story. But but instantly when I left the body, I went, what I described people as to the void. Best way I can describe it. It's complete blackness, but all around everything. I mean, it was like you go to the bottom of a sleeping bag or your blankets when you're a child, and where it's just warm and comfortable and everything at peace. There's no pain. You're just full 360 view, like you're an orb in the blackness. But you're just looking around everything. There's stuff. It's infinite, but it's dark. And again, I can't tell you how long I was there for, but it was just at peace. And all of a sudden, like a lightning bolt struck in front of me. the terror of the night opened up the curtain, and then I basically went through into the light. But when I went through the light, I come out onto a tree grove, and there's a gravel path in front of me. And I am, again, not body form, again, I'll say orb, best way to describe it. And I just followed this path out through this tight weave tree grove. And then as I proceed to come out, I come out onto a mountain ledge on the side of a mountain. And I'm overlooking a three-tiered mountain meadow. It was Earth-like, but not Earth. It was, I mean, the colors, the lights, everything, it was just intense. On the lower left tier of me, I will say there were others, human form, other beings, some sparring, I could best say, is even like some Viking guys were playing, doing some stuff, and other forms there. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but they're all there in that field. And then right in front of me was a rectangle golden portal. Some people might have seen this if they ever watched the movies, the show The Vikings, and they saw the gate to Valhalla. That's what it looked like. I was looking at this beautiful golden rectangle portal, and with the mountains in the backdrop behind me. And on the right tier above me was a jeweled marbled halls that looked like the Parthenon of Greece, with the marble columns and everything else, but just jeweled, all glittering and bright. And so I was on this mountain ledge, and again, I used to be a hang glider pilot, so I'm comfortable on the ledge. But to me, it felt almost different, like we're coming to a precipice, some point. But then I found myself gliding down, just as I would in a regular glider, fly down, and there was a grass field between the second and third tier. And I come down into that field of the luscious, greenest, beautiful grass there was, just laying in there. And you're just the love and the like alone coming from the grass was amazing. But all of a sudden I felt, and some people have also described this, where it was almost like a bubble, best way to describe, like an oval bubble of liquid love is the word that always comes to my mind when I describe this thing. It enveloped me and wrapped me up. Some people, and the grass also wrapped me up too. It's, if they've seen the movie Avatar with Grace, the scientist who was dying and the grass wrapped up onto her body, that's what was happening to me. So I was being charged up. I'm at this all-knowing moment, point two in my where everything, you just know the expansion of your consciousness is beyond words. I was looking through the grass at a microcellular level. I'm seeing cells divide, the fluids moving through them. It was just, you're a part of everything. But I felt like when that bubble of liquid love, that I was almost, how I described it, is like I was either being recharged, I was being healed, whatever was prepped in my aura or anything else was taken care of, but sheer absolute bliss. I mean, and the love, oh my God, the love is like, I can't love my children the same way as I love that love. You're so connected, you're so addicted to it. But again, I can't tell you how long I laid there. I don't know how the time was, but it was just absolute peace. And all of a sudden, a moment glimpse of my mind where I thought, I shouldn't be here. And as I thought that, a silver mist started coming through the field. And out of the silver mist formed 7 light beings that surrounded me. These light beings were, if I was comparable in height, I'd say 7.5 feet tall, human form, but more spindly. The bluish, whitish white light you've ever seen. You can't see any facials or anything. It was like almost like a shiny shield. But it was, I mean, they're there. I mean, and just surround me. And I don't know how we talked. We didn't talk like you and I are talking again. Of course, it was all to that part. And all of a sudden, again, how long we were with them, I have no idea. But all of a sudden, I was placed into, best way to describe a toilet bowl is what it felt like. I'm looking up at the hole. I'm looking up at them. They're all looking down at me. The tallest one's in the center, looking down. And then I realize I'm going. I'm like, oh, no. And as I did that, I'm being flushed down. Now I am in a rainbow vortex. Again, like, if you've seen the Marvel movies, Thor, for example, and you see the Rainbow Bridge, or they talk about the Rainbow Bridge and Vikings and all their stuff. Well, I'm going down this Rainbow Vortex, sort of where I consider feet first. I was looking up this way, but I'm going down and just dropping, dropping, dropping. I mean, it felt like forever dropping. But then as I'm going down, I'm still looking up there for a second. I just still see them and I'm going down, but all of a sudden, this starts to close up. So my right side, where I consider my face, would have closed up. And then all of a sudden, the pain started to come in. Tremendous, tremendous pain. Oh, I'm indescribable. Like every tooth in your mouth, head, and the worst toothache you've ever had going off. That's what I'm experiencing, but through the whole body, or what I consider the body. And again, I kept falling, kept falling. I still kept going, and all of a sudden, I fuse into basically I call it, again, my meat suit. Um, it's very disruptive. It's not like you wake up from a dream or anything else. You just your whole because again, your whole body is free initially at that point, or your consciousness, wherever you are, and then you get slammed into this higher density meat suit and just pulling through it, and it's very traumatic and very rough, and you're like, oh, and then as I came through, of course, I'm looking up and I'm seeing these fuzzy forms all around me, dancing around and screaming, "He's alive! Holy crap, he's alive! Holy," in other vulgar words, you name it, where they're all crapping their pants because, as my buddy told me, I had gone gray, I was gone, and I'm basically in my mind going, I know I was, but you could hear them, and all of a sudden they're panicking because they had brought my body in. When I was discovered, they had found me and they had put my body on a flat, and a big loading vehicle came down and picked me up out of the barge. And then it was a very hot, warm day of the day, 80 plus 90 degrees. So they wanted to get me out of that area probably, and they brought me into the office area and laid my body down on the cold wood floor. And but then now that they're realizing that I'm back, they picked me up dead weight. I was 260 at the time, bulked up, working with heavy stuff and this. So I was pretty large, and they picked me up dead weight. And I can still remember my this part here. I'm screaming in the pain here. I mean, this is in terrible pain, yes, but it's where they picked me up. They then threw me into a car, and as the person's coming around, the manager's coming around to drive the vehicle, I look at my watch with my left eye. Can't see anything here. My left eye says 1:35. So I had been gone for a half hour, at least. Um, and then they rushed me initially to the hospital as blood's pouring on my nose, my ear, my eye. And then took me initially to the hospital, threw the insurance card down, and then said I'm going to go finish the job, and left me there. So then I'm being bomb rushed by all the medical professionals coming in, just stripping my clothes off, putting a neck brace on my head, neck, and then going through all the procedures. So it was initial there. I was so bad case that they had to transfer me over to another, the major hospital in Seattle, Washington. And again, they had never called 911, no ambulance, no nothing. So that's the unique part about the whole deal. But it's almost like a surprise to them that I came back. They're still trying to figure out what to do with the body or whatever. But I was such a severe case. They took me into place again. Harbor View is medical, and that night it must have been like the full moon effect because I didn't even get a room. I didn't get anything else. But I want to describe the reason why I'm saying this is because the doctors kept coming in and they had hooked me up to some very strong pain meds and all the drugs and tap and stuff. But yet I was taking 1/3 the amount of pain meds that a person in my condition should be taking. And the one doctors kept coming to me, say, "You're a badass. You're amazing. Well, how are you doing this?" Because I wasn't crying, I wasn't doing anything. I was like this. There was everything, and I'm like, how do you describe them that I still was connected to the other side? That I could still that love and everything that I was experiencing there was still connecting through me, and it was actually blocking a lot of the pain that I was experiencing because they just still couldn't believe that I was only taking 1/3 of the amount that someone should. So that was the main part of that NDE experience there. So you get any questions from that part?
Yeah, that's quite something to go through. Wow, that's incredible.
I didn't go to
You
work
know what's
expecting to have
amazing
this.
is like, in the Matrix, they show you how everything slows down. It's
That's exactly
interesting
what it
how
was.
everything's sped up and it's slowed
Yeah.
down at the same time because you're just taking every second in, flash by flash. It's
Yep.
incredible. So, do you think that the people that filmed like the Vikings and Avatar that they've channeled these like the portal, that they've seen it and
You
they
know,
because
I
we've all been there.
um just prior to this, again, I was waiting to get back on ship. I've always, again, I missed the water, everything else. I'm here on land. I'm not happy, so I happened to go to they're having what do you call the people that predict the future for you? Sorry, this is the brain
Psychic.
beat. What I did. Psychic. Okay, so I happened to go to a psychic little event that was where my ex and I at the time had used to go to it every now and then, and these women said, "You are always very close to death. You've been killed. You've been almost killed multiple times." I'm like, yeah, I've had 12 Brumberg charges, 4 Moose charges. I've had flying a hang glider into a thunderstorm, which I'll explain another little one later on that one, which is a unique experience too. Multiple deaths. So it's where you need to wear this Viking symbol. I think it was Thor's hammer. So Mjolnir or whatever else. So she rushed over and she took me to the place, put it on. She said, "You need to wear this. You need to be protected." So I was wearing that day that it happened. So I don't know if it's how this relates again to the Vikings age or anything else, but it was. And again, I saw that thing on the Viking show, a picture of it. I might have sent to you where you're seeing this golden portal. It's like right there. I'm like, I broke down and cried the moment that showed up after this event. So again, a lot of these things that I've seen, things have come and manifested in the physical on this side after the death experience, and you just go, "Wow!" You just start breaking down, and then you start crying because the emotions are riding through you. You feel the vibrations through your back. You going, "I saw this before. I seen this. I'm being shown now. This was all real." So, um, it's just a unique part of how that worked out. And so there's somehow some connection, some way, maybe past life, who knows, whatever it is. But, I got to see more of that part.
Yeah, I know that when you're on this side, it was 35 minutes. How long did it feel like on that side?
It could have been eons. It could have been, I mean, there's no sense of time there. It's just you're in pure bliss. I mean, that's all I can best describe. There's no real words to get to that point of what you're experiencing because again, when we're out of this density, I believe in from this physical body on this side, when you're able to go there where everything is expansive, you're limitless. You are beyond you are a divine being yourself. You are way more than you are just here. And so your just mind goes wherever you need to go, it happens. I mean, it was just where we're again, like almost like you can see like the galaxies where I was put this spot here and bam, bam, you're instantaneously in places. But then going down, especially in that rainbow vortex, I could see things outside the vortex. So it's like you're traveling through a space area or wherever I was at before from the central universe to here I am now and just, moving through. It still took some time. It wasn't instantaneous. So I definitely got to have the ride and it was a roller coaster going down that thing. But, it just, um, when you see these things here on the physical side and you try and describe these to people, it's just there's just still no words because it's just the colors, the different colors, things that we don't have here and stuff. The love that was coming out of the grass, all these other places. I mean, it's just so intense, and it's just all I can say is it's wait for the ride when you're ready to go because he'll be a ride.
Well, it sounds amazing. The people that came to see you, do you know them? Were they maybe like part of your soul family or something like that?
The light beings to
Yeah.
me, it's like I was a part of them, where I was one of them. It's where they're like we're just discussing possibly what's the next phase, what's going on, But again, these I describe, or every time I see your Palladian types, Arcturian types, stuff like that with the blue and that bluish white light, or they, again to me either they could have been part of what also involved as Ascended Masters as well. Again, they're just divine beings. They're there, my guides, or this whatever this part of the system is. to discuss and go. But I felt like still like I was one of them, and they known me for ages. But they had extremely power. The love and everything else was coming out of them was just beyond words.
Well, that sounds incredible. Um, yeah. Okay, so carry on. I've run out of questions.
Okay, so I'll just say is like after this event, especially I've about a week and a half later, I had a reconstructive surgery, so I have 5 plates of titanium in my face. This is all was titanium here down through, so I look like the Terminator underneath. Um, but as I was laying there in bed, and again, yes, you're having these withdrawals. You're having the the pains, that you're experiencing, and you were pulled away from the most absolute bliss. You were pulled away from home or whatever we're supposed to go back to, and it took a while. It took several, a couple of months where it's like to slowly get out of that part. But at the same time, I started getting drawn. I mean, I worked with crystals and stuff in the past a little bit. I got that into while I was gold digging, and I found out I was a dowser and I could do dowsing and find stuff. So there was a little part of that there. And then I remember working with Moldavite earlier on, so I definitely know that was a direct path. If everyone knows about that, it's like, well, I'm on the direct path, I guess. When people ask for change or transformation, they don't really know what it can be. I mean, some people just think of the warm fuzzies, the happiness, the joys that they think it is, but sometimes you're literally taken through the darkness and dragged through the pain and stuff, and then go through that, and knowing that you still are the light and you're never alone, but you're going to go through some major transformations, and sometimes it literally makes you have to fall down, completely fall. And I fell. And but through this, I started working with crystals, and I started seeing a thing about doing organites, which again is a mixture of resin and crystals and metal, like a 50-50 composite of organic to non-organic. And lo hold me, do I start with making pyramid stuff? No, 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 no. I'm making skulls. I'm making dragons. I'm making all these other things. I'm feeling like I have to give this out. But I was drawn to energy. I mean, just anything that makes or works with energy. And I mean, it was just again, I describe it to people and a lot of people who have death experience explain this too. It's like you take two opposing magnets, pop polar ends, and then push together. You feel this rubbery, sluggish, weird feeling, push pull type deal, and you're compelled to do things. And if you don't heed it, something else will come up and make sure you heed it. But you learn to listen to that system and your body, the sounds in your ears and other signs. But then I started making these. And I was donating them to a lot of people, and I was doing good. But I started to, how I describe is, I was using up my energies that I had built up into these people. I'm having some amazing reactions to them. I mean, I was just health wise and just all these other unique miracles. I had one woman who, by chance, um, she was working with a group up in Alaska where she was. I had made a um, almost like a pyramid type deal, but I was working with what's called a Tesla plate too. I just discovered this stuff, but it was she was doing healing behind these ladies as they're watching a movie. But as she comes behind one woman, she aims this thing at this woman, and the tip of the pyramid explodes. And lo and behold, they turned the lights on. The woman in front of her was going blue. And so they rushed her to the hospital. Lo and behold, she was poisoned by her husband. And this thing exploded, where it absorbed the energy and exploded herself. And so, this is just one story of many that some of these things have healed or helped other stuff. So I'm like, okay, so what else did I get through with this experience? Like what my energies did, or where else that making the stuff healed that, but multiple things like that. So I was worked at that for, but again, I was starting to develop nosebleeds where every time I make one of these, I again felt like my energy was being sucked away. And so I'm going, how do I recharge this? I had to stop. I just cleared it. I'm no more doing those, but I still work with crystals. I still love them. I have multiple, I'm all around me. They're everywhere. I'm a crystal daddy. But I felt like there's something else. So, but then I started feeling the call that I had to do a podcast like this to explain my story. And I get that push. Well, I had to do it. So I went out and I put it online YouTube, and I had this one woman reach out to me, and she was a two-time death experiencer, and she said, have you ever heard of Saint Germain, a beloved master Saint Germain? I'm like, yeah, I dealt with him. I've dealt with that Tesla coil pad. I've heard of these things like him, and sort of know what he is. But we talked for must have been about 2.5 hours, and I will now take a step. She told me to, pick up these books from the I Am Discourses. Like I'll show you a green one here, the I Am Discourse books. And so I got that. But now I'm going to take you a step back. About 2 months before, because of working with, being in that grass, being involved with just seeing the cells dividing and stuff, I had gotten into ornamental trees and grasses and stuff. Now, just something, again, I couldn't move much. I couldn't get out, I got out of the chair and stuff a little bit, but I would just sit outside and just try and be in nature. I couldn't really walk far or anything else, had the energies. But I found out about worm castings. I had to find a way to fertilize my plants. And so I happened to go out to I found this little worm farm out in the middle of the country. And I went out there and I go through and I get into the place, and there's two guys, working in the area, but also one guy, he comes out and he is the old European, very nice beard, sit up there, just something was amazing about him. And he looked at me and I looked at him, and we initially just said a couple words, and then he just stared right at me in my eyes and said, "You died." Uh, uh, yeah. He then proceeds to walk around another area. He comes up and he places his hand exactly where my incision is, and from my arm, where they repaired gone into the pectoral major. And so he's like, "You're still connected. Everything is fine." And let this, and then he proceeded to go back behind and never saw him again. So as I left there, I didn't really, I thought about that. That was, wow, okay. I'm trying to get used to all this weird stuff that's been happening to me. It's like, okay, that's just weird. Okay. Now I'm coming back to the books, and but the I Am Discourses, again, that this woman had talked to me about, and I've been reading them. And there was stuff in there that I am starting to freak out, because there's stuff in there these are written back in the 1930s, but there's stuff that I saw in my death experience. Other things, these other weird stuff that was coming out, literally where letters were raising up from the pages, and I am just starting to crap myself. Go, wow. But the biggest thing that affected me was when I turned one page. And when I turned that page, it was Beloved Master Saint Germain. But that was the guy that I'd met there at the worm farm. To the T. And I'm going, I just started bawling, crying like all those art parts. And I relate to one other story after that, where just about 2 years ago, I was out doing a walk and a hike, and I've been getting better, and it was the first early part of spring, and this little girl runs up to me on the path, and she hands me the first dandelion of the season I ever saw. Just the dandelion head. And her father's right behind her, and he's like, "I'm sorry, man." I'm like, no, there's a reason for this. She looks at me and says, "My name is Aurora. I am a girl." Now, I took those back, and I said, and very much again, and I knew there was a reason for this. And, great to them, thank you, and went home. Well, towards that evening, my buddy from Montana, in the Midwest, upper part of the United States, sends me a picture of the Aurora Borealis, the Northern Lights, and it's violet, which relates again to Saint Germain as well. And I didn't put it all together fully, so that's the first part. And then I hop in the shower, I'm doing something else, and then it hit me. Wait a second. She said, "I am Aurora. I am a girl," which again, the I Am Discourses, the violet, and put everything out. And again, I just started bawling and crying again. It's like the Ascended Masters. So that's another sign confirming again. And I've had other confirmations like this. So I've read 20 of the volumes, and I talked to, when I talked to people, I said, just look into these other areas. It's, there's so many things around, but there's these beings that are around us, masters. I still believe that Jesus is an ascended master. I mean, we are all ascended masters. Are called to it eventually. We're just going through our experiences here. But I've when I'm working with the I am and those powerful words, things just seem to have happened in my life even more. I've met more people that I've never met. I've met people on the tops of mountains, and who've come up and said, I was meant to meet you today. We found out there are other death experiencers. I've had so many things where I've gentleman, his name is Vinny. He talks about he's died for 45 minutes. If anyone's Vinny Tolman, and so many other similar things that we've had or seen. I can relate to a lot of what he said too, and it's like, wow. I mean, you start to see more and more of these connections, and the more you talk about these things, you experience that this is real. This did happen. I mean, I've gone places where I had another push and pull, for example, spirituality wise. And I didn't understand the full connection of it, but there's a place in eastern Washington, or right between western and eastern Washington state. There's a place by Mount Adams. It's called East City Ranch, and it deals with a lot of extraterrestrial type stuff. But I also found out they're also very spiritual area. It's again where um, the ley lines cross right there, so the veil is very thin. And okay, big tough rough man, but I'll tell you, I've seen fairies there. I've seen craft there. I've had pink plasma surround me of that love type deal. I mean, some people describe it as that's the Mother Mary coming around and visualizing this stuff, and so I'm experiencing phenomena that it's real, it's happening. I got pictures on my phone right here of all that stuff, orbs all over me. I'm just seeing orbs everywhere. I'm seeing also on night vision goggles there that place too, but the ships. But I've also gone into some of these books. People talk about with the IM2, where they worked with the Palladians and other things as well. I mean, so you see all these weird connections. It's like, and you're just going, wow. But I'm drawing these energies, and it's also weird because I've gone to this place now. Be coming this year. I think it's my 11th time coming up here in August. I generally go, and multiple times I've been there at different times, no connections whatsoever, but I've run across the exact same people our tribe, our soul tribe worlds shows up the same weekend. I'm there again. It's like we didn't connect, and we just go, that's freaky. That's freaky. Oh, that's cool. And when you just go, yep, it's the weird. You just get used to it. But there's a reason. Again, we're called. You're that spot of the love, and there's things that we see, and I mean, you just feel like you're at home with those people and those folks, and you share your experiences, and many of them, of course, have also had death experiences. We're just drawn to energy. I mean, they work with geological shapes, the crystals, certain other aspects. They've all add to different parts of the practice. Not one is over the other. We're all equal. We're all, same. So again, all these, again, just how this death experience has led to so many other areas.
Well, I can definitely say your life's not the same.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
Wow. So just a question. Do you think that you maybe died as a young baby, that you were already open to certain energies, even before your NDE?
I would just say I've had a very challenging life. How I describe this from birth. I had yellow jaundice severely. I was born several weeks early. I was in an incubator for a long time, so I had to struggle to survive even as a child, a baby. And then through other experiences through my life, yeah, I can tell you probably about, and I guess that cycle is right because I've had probably about 20 plus near death, close to death experiences. I mean, from being, again, from the hang glider, for example, to being left on the frozen ice and having to survive weird stuff. I mean, there's tons of things that I can go back on that I should have died. I should not have been here. My guardian angel is working overtime on this guy because, I was always being protected. I'll give you I told you I was going to explain about the hang glider experience too. So this was prior to this accident. And we were flying, it was in the spring. We were there was a competition type deal, and we were flying where there's mountains all around us. I have a very large reservoir of water in front of us, and we were flying off, and there was 6 of us up already. But we were on the other side of this mountain over here, and this cloud happened to push off away but then it got sucked back in and then overdeveloped into a thunderstorm as I'm flying. Six of us are over here. We come around the corner, come in to land, and we can't because there's thunder, lightning, and hail right into the landing zone area. Two of the pilots go down, proceed to try and go in and land underneath it, and they're pelted. Then they get bloodied faces after this whole deal is done. But the rest of us were flying over now this reservoir, but we're starting to be sucked up. I'm now into a dive, and I am still being lifted up. I'm going up to my instrument reading was telling me I was just pained like crazy, but I was at about 10,000, almost 12,000 feet, just going through. And I am, at the time, a good little Catholic boy doing all my calls outs, my Our Fathers, my Hail Marys, and calling to God, save me, save me. Oh my God. Lightning's all over me. The thunder is crashing and the vibrational shock waves floating through the air as I'm up there again surrounded. I'm holding aircraft aluminum. I'm going to be a conductor. I'm crazy, and I'm calling to God, and I'm getting ready to cut my cord. I have a knife, and I'm getting ready to cut my cord from the glider to just fall. And I have a parachute in my chest, but I'm over water. I could have drowned. And if I also opened up too early, it could have still sucked me up into the storm. And again, I'm calling to God. I'm calling to God. I'm just calling, and all of a sudden, as they say, calling to thee, I'll answer unto thee, and he did. Or its source, wherever you want to call it, God, I am presence, reacted, and where I should have been lifted up, all of a sudden there was no lift. It was like a knowing. And I call this a lot of radiation through the Ascended Masters or else, where it's just, And it's like you go and held on and just worked my way out of there and got out of the lift, and I couldn't make it to the landing zone. But so I was in what's called the downdrafts coming down. So I was in what we call a toilet bowl flush, and I'm being shoved down, down, and I'm holding in the speed, and I'm coming and out here in the Pacific Northwest, we have these very large trees, and so we got very large stumps, and I'm coming through this old growth landing field next to where the boat ramp is for the guys who like to go fishing there, and I'm coming down, and I land on my own 2 feet, and I'm just like, wow, everything's, but I could feel all of a sudden the electrical energies around me were as sweaty as my head was. I took off my helmet. It was all sweat, but the vibration in the air was the electrical intensities. I could feel it off the glider, so I had to quickly disconnect, and I got away from my glider, just letting the electrical dissipate. Again, working with that storm right around me. So they came down and they picked a couple of people drove down and they saw me where I landed, and they came picked me up, and they're all concerned that I was hurt. And I said, no, I had to just get away from the glider, all this electrical. So they took me back to the landing zone where everyone likes to party and fly after they're done and talk about the experiences. But the sky, just like in this picture with that, of the rectangle portal, it's same portal like backdrop. These same mountains were like back there, and all of a sudden just through. But there was a black screen in front, and that was the storm moving back into the mountains. But from that was the most beautiful double rainbow I've ever seen. I started tearing up here because it was just absolutely gorgeous. I mean, just the brilliance, the lights, and it's like God's promise, like I saved you. There's a reason for it. So it's like, okay, I had to go through that experience in that life and go, okay, there's something more. And ever since right then, my life exploded professionally wise in business. More things started happening again. Everything started flowing way faster. And so, when I look at all these things, and after my death experience, like you go, holy crap, I had to go through this. I had to go through this year. Was it testing to see if I would go to God or whatever, or what my faith was and stuff. And you see how sometimes you're tested, but you get through these different challenges. And I just keep telling people, even as dramatic it was, and some people that have had trauma, everything, especially when I dealt with those life beings, keep pushing forward. That what always comes to my mind in the forefront. Keep pushing forward. Don't stop. I'm always in constant pain. I'm in chronic pain like crazy. My pain levels to most people would make them faint. I still have, I also had developed, unfortunately, I had developed diabetes at the time because I wasn't moving around a lot. So I started developing neuropathy in my hands and feet. But through this event, I've had these knowings of what to get for natural medicines and stuff, how to heal my physical body. I had ballooned up when the doctors had given me all this stuff. Before initially, I'm up to like 312 pounds. I'm now down to 180. Oh, sorry, 195 in weight. But I've also come across another death experiencer, for example, who was literally shown by his guides all these same medicines and everything else. And we went down to list to the T, and he was listing these off. And I'm going, this is all I have. I showed him pictures. He's freaking out. So again, all these connections. We're all connected. Just as when Saint Germain came up to me and said, you're connected. In one way, just with me being in front of you today, there had to be a connection for a reason. And I think that that's what led to us initially in that meeting. So, you know, you just take a look at all these things and you got to just know that it's all for a reason. There's the pain, the pleasures, the all the experiences, everything we see in life. We control everything else. And people ask me, "You're not afraid of death anymore?" I'm like, "No, I'm not afraid. I could literally, if the world's going to hell right now, I could put out a lawn chair out there and I'll just sit back and go, bring it on. I already know what's going to happen. I already know the bliss and stuff, but it's what we can do for others, and that's their biggest thing is what. It's not about self. It's all, and that's why I was glad to come on the day. I'm always willing to talk about it. I'm not afraid to say what happened to me and else because I say we're all here to help others, and we're all here on this journey, some way formed together. And the far light, our energy source, our what I call the I am presence within, wherever you point in here, that's the God within us, the divine spark. When we're around other people, we affect others. A lot of doctors have found that that the heart by us here has a certain force field that reaches out a certain range. And that's why I always say, when a lot of people, they try to separate us from not being around us, they're trying to separate us from each other because we are the power together. When we put us together and how one person with a room can be sour, but one person with that light spark walks into that room and all of a sudden everyone connects to that energies, wham, they could feel the shift and the change in the room. You can feel when people are being affected more. And I have, I'll see in the term, a bullshit meter that's, reads 100% now versus I can feel people's vibrations. I can feel the energies. And some people love my energies. Other people hate me and they don't know why, or they just saying, I can't be around you and you watch them leave. And you can feel that push away. It's just where our energies are what we are. And our biggest thing, and I'm seeing for most part this, it's not just about love, but it's also about authenticity. And I have also compelling where I really can't lie anymore. I can't, I fear it. I fear not being able to tell the truth. And know what's going on. And sometimes I'm blatantly too honest, or I'll hit people. And a lot of people don't like my authenticity, but that is such. They've now a lot of done studies on it, and I've researched that too. Where it's that power energy. It's coming forth, and our vibration is so much stronger from that, and we can feel it all around us, and other people can feel it here, but they can feel its truth. And so again, when I go back through all this part, and I tell the people, are watching this video, like I went that day to work, not just as a normal day, just trying to get through life, trying to pay the bills, do these other things here. I rough and tough guy, didn't think about all this other woo-woo stuff, and all of a sudden, instantly, my life changed. And I do gotta say, as much as in pain and as much stuff have I been through, all my surgeries, all the everything else, it saved me in so many ways. It blessed me in so many ways. It was a true blessing in disguise. It saved me from so many things, but now it's given me the more freedom to go out and do what I need to do. Go where I need to go. I'm not restricted. By certain things. Money flows to me wherever I need it. Everything else happens. The source comes in. And again, when I talk about these people, the I am discourse and stuff, is when you say those words, the I am, do not use that in a negative connotation because it's like a double-edged sword. If you use those words positively, many things will happen. And the more you use it, the stronger your connection to the source is, I believe. You feel your light. And I've talked to other death experiences who also have come across the I am, and they say the same thing. They see stuff, they've read stuff in the volumes that they were shown and they didn't know about. It's like, I know, it's freaky weird. So if that's something as a resource, go ahead.
I'll definitely put that in the description as well to remind people to read.
Yeah.
But that is phenomenal. Do you know that they kept sending you back because you have a purpose and this would be your purpose?
Part of me, part of its purpose. And I've come across other death experiences explain this, and I feel it's sort of somewhere where it may have been a predetermined thing in the plan when I came here initially that I've had to have this experience. And so that it was like a reminder or said, okay, now game's on. Now you had your human life part of that. You had all the things that made you what you are now. And now you're going to take all that what you've been through and put it to this new source or drawing forth, heaven. I am drawing forth heaven onto the earth is the best way I could say it. I am the divine spark. I am helping others. And, you know, when you start doing that because also where my life left me, unfortunately my fiance for 15 years who had my daughters together with, left me over a year ago, a year and 1 month. And I was now brought to an area of the country, world that a lot of political views, a lot of other different things that are very negative or affecting a lot of people. A lot of people here, I witness people every day. I would say that almost aren't human. It's just the darkness that around them is everything else. It's like, God, why do you put me here? But I guess through all the pain and all the sufferings and everything else, I was meant to be a pillar of light for this area. My light alone is changing the vibrational area of this spot. All these people I come through and I see them on the road where they're really having drug addiction, all these things going through here. I put my hand out and I say, everyone is God in action. I call and pray to them or send forth love to them. I call their I am present, say, bring forth your perfection in this individual. I know everyone is God in action. Just how I say it, and somehow, some way, we're affecting there. But again, even around here, I've run across people that have had death experiences. There's like, you get this weird itchy feeling. I go for a hike somewhere, and you run across a person, and I have a certain staff that I was directed to make of the most beautiful wood. It's called diamond willow. But the weird thing is, it's almost like a calling card to whenever I'm walking. It's so beautiful. Everyone tells me I got to give Gandalf his staff back, but when I'm walking with it, it's where the right people get attracted like a moth to a flame, and then we start out the conversation, and then why a guy of me is walking with one intentionally, especially on a small, simple hiking trail. It's like, well, this is what happened. This is what's going on here, and then I see a few keywords, and a lot of times it's just those few keywords kick off the conversation to the whole story. And then a lot of times after I spill my beans, they spill their beans. And it's like, all right, we're here for the same thing. It's like, yep, okay. And you just get used to that. And but it happens all the time. And it's just, again, more of a blessing. And you look at these things going, wow, okay, I would never experience this if I hadn't had that experience.
Well, it sounds like you maximized your chances by making sure you had all these. You said before you came, I want to make sure that it happens. So just line them up.
Yep, exactly.
You are experiencing this darkness. What do you say to people? Like, have you shared it with normal people? I say normal people, the ones that aren't awake yet, the ones that are sleeping in a dream. Or how are they? Do you tell them about your experiences, or is it better just to keep quiet?
Well, yeah. Well, you watch the ones that a lot of times the ones that need to hear are around the other ones, and you just watch the ones that aren't ready to hear. You'll see them turn off. You'll feel their energies turn off. But I don't care. I am authentic. I am authentic, and I use that statement often. And it's where those that need to hear it will hear it. The energy when you feel truth and you feel the right vibrations, you know it. A higher vibration does not lower itself to a lower vibration. The lower vibration rises up to the higher vibration. A lot of times there's a little turmoil, and that's why I'm describing people when there's things going on in the world, when there's a lot of turmoil, its vibrations are rising. One's rising up to it, but there's never an instant come to it. But the higher vibration never lowers down. So you got to look at it that way. You just got to go, you're speaking your truth, you're speaking what you saw, what I did, and some people just can't handle it. Some people, are not ready for it. But I tell people when you start doing these things in these natural laws. When you explain stuff and how you work with things and how you work with things, and especially when it's for other people, others, not yourself, for others, things just happen. And the more you work with, I call it the my I am presence daily, my God self daily, and things just start magically just starts happening more and more. I mean, but I tell you, the more you do it, the stronger your light gets, and the more you help people and explain yourself and just be truthful, authentic, who you really are. You don't have to be around anyone else. I mean, and I know a lot of people experience death experience out there. You know, it's weird when we had a normal life. We were like for most things, and all of a sudden one day, boom, you have this huge spiritual transformation. And then you can see the many ones that he had probably previously in your regular life, but you didn't recognize as much. But when you get around non-authentic people or people that are a lot of times feed off each other's energies, it gets very draining. And that's one thing I'm very similar to a lot of our death experiencers where, yes, I do affect electronics. Yes, a lot of times even my watch will go bad because though there, I don't like to be around large crowds anymore. I'll go in places and deal with it. Some people will avoid like movie theaters and certain places. I actually go in there to help cleanse the energy, and because a lot of people don't realize that there's all these emotions and traumas that are there in the air around them, especially when you go to movie theaters or other events where you get the euphoria or again everyone's energies are connecting. But if you have a lot of negative forces and you're the light, a lot of people really don't like you, or you will come back from those experiences drained. Where I have to, yes, literally go to nature. I have to hug a tree. I have to put my feet on the bare ground. I sleep with I have grounding pads. I have grounding pillows. When I'm doing my decree work at night, where I call for decrees I basically throughout the day I will do an hour's worth of decrees in the half hour in the morning and a half hour at night, as well as throughout the day. I will have my hands and my feet on a grounding pad, just because of all these energies that happen. A lot of people may be monitoring the Schumann resonance. If anyone's not heard of that, it's something that you can see on. I watch on YouTube, Facebook, other things. It pops up. But it's where it's the natural resonance of the Earth. But with all these cosmic energies that are flooding forth in right now, the scientists are starting to analyze it more and more. People are starting to watch the Schumann resonance, how it's spiking and developing. And unfortunately, a lot of us people who are sensitive tend to, unfortunately, wake up a lot of night. We're full of energy. We're like, why am I awake? I'm ready to go. Come on, bring it to me. And then you're like, oh, crap. And it's like, I got insomnia again. And it's like, you deal with this stuff and you go, why? Why can't I just be like someone else, like my daughters? Why can't I just fall asleep and just get good, say 8 hours of rest? Nope. But you get with what you get, and you just gotta again keep pushing forward. And just know that everything's gonna work out. We don't die. We do not die. We just transform. And we don't lose who we are. And that's one thing about being authentic. I mean, and like I know Vinny talks about this and other guys talk about, when you are your true authentic self, that allows you to go so many places. But if you block yourself when you have to work or deal with someone else's energies, then you just have to trust you're on the right path. I just use these decrees all day long. I am divinely guided. I am cosmically, invincibly God protected. When you start knowing who you are underneath, you just feel like, okay, I gotta go where I gotta go, and just know that you're here for a reason, yes, but you're here to help others, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, before a lot of monks in our places that I've read this to is they did the cave. The cave was a thing for a while where you could go back and you could reflect and you can be alone and do things. But there's a time where you got to come out of that cave and go help others or share the light and get around other people and share what you've learned. And that's what I'm doing here today is I'm sharing my light, my truth, what I've gone through, but knowing that for some reason someone out there in your audience needs to hear what I'm saying and know that it's true. That's a blessing to me. Just know that I've been able to share that experience with them.
Yes, and thank you very much. It sounds to me like you've got a very special gift because a lot of people are maybe coming back with healing abilities or psychic or whatever. But for you to go into a place where large crowds have gathered and to clean out that energy, that's not been everybody's calling.
Right. Yeah. Well, again, when you've been in front of 1,200-pound brown bears, multiple of them at the same time, I guess it's a way of God testing you out to see how long you're able to face things and deal with other stuff. And like again, I'm not as afraid to go through. And some people, they want to protect their energies, and which again, you have to protect your energies. You have to work. I mean, crystals are a great way. Again, I wear amethyst. I wear other crystals around me and stuff. So there's things that are you protect you. If you got cats, I mean, I got two beautiful cats running around my place here at times. They're my little protectors as well. All these things are here for us to help us out. You just have to listen to what's coming. Listen to your own self. Not everyone else. I'm just here from my experience. But to truly get from yourself your own God presence, you have to listen to yourself. These little indentations or these little callings, like if you hear the ringing in your ear, something come up there or something will change. You start paying attention to little details. It's amazing where they lead you, and what you go throughout the days. You're being shown signs all over the place. If it's angel numbers like 1212, 1010, 555s, 777. Oh, I'm gonna be lucky today. All right, here we go. Just little things like that. That and it's been across cultures. It's not just people call all this new age stuff or anything else. No, this is ancient knowledge and histories that are resurfacing, that are coming forth now for a reason. And especially when the Schumann resonance is kicking off as much as it is, and all these other things are happening, its effects, again, especially a lot of those that are sensitive. But if you're watching, you don't feel you're sensitive now, there's still a reason why you're watching what's going on here. There's always a connection. There's always something, and you'll be surprised just by monitoring. But just be relaxed, knowing that you're in a process, and no matter where you are in life, you're meant to be where you're at, where you're meant to be. There's nothing that says you're wrong. And people like, because I've been able to work through this experience afterwards. I'm still working. I'm just now working for Source. My job is to help others and do things, and as long as I keep doing like little programs like this or sharing the light with people, I'm supplied by it. It's something always takes care of me. But I gotta know is I gotta keep doing that, because if I don't, then I can create karma and stuff like that. If I use people the wrong way, or if I say the wrong things, you gotta understand, whatever you say, what your voice, your vibration comes out of you. I mean, dip your hand into a pool one time or a bowl of water and watch the ripples. You're all vibration. Everything, you have your own unique vibration here. That's why you're here. And so it's, again, you just have to relate to people. And again, for me to talk about this love and light, this, living light, all these things, I mean, it didn't come out of me. I mean, I had to experience and see these things. And this was my experience. I had to go see this stuff. And people say they want an NDE, they want a death experience. Do you? Do you really know what you might entail? You don't know. But I tell people, again, for those who have, or from us, those who had one, saying again, has it always been life changing? Yes, it has. Some, like, I just met a gentleman on the hiking trail the other day who was a death experiencer, and he never talked about it. My stick happened to bring it up when I was talking with him, and it's like he still doesn't know yet if he's what he needs to do. And I just pointed out to him. I said, look at some of these I am decrees. Look at these some other things. Just be authentic. We'll sit down and have coffee someday. Just, open up more. Some people are willing to open up. Some people are still hold, or they're afraid of, again, what other people will think. But then again, that's not your true self. If you don't have the freedom to say and express who you are, you don't have freedom. But the moment you're able to do that, it's just like an epiphany where I'm free to go wherever I need to go and do whatever I need to do. And it will happen. So,
well, I'm so glad you're speaking out and speaking your truth, because I think we've been suppressed for so long. It's time. It's time for some major shifts to happen. And I mean, there's a reason you're here. I believe it's because of the changes we're going through now, the Great Awakening.
Yep. That's how it happened. Yeah. And the funny thing is, in those books, like the I Am Discourses, that's all in there about the Great Awakening, the Golden Age, all these things. When you see the President of the United States saying the Golden Age, it just like rings the bells in my mind and vibration, and my whole body shimmers because it's like you've seen and read these things, and I've been shown this stuff, written back in the 1930s and way beforehand. But all this is coming to a point now, and that's what we all feel. It's all happening. It's all seeing more, and you're seeing more people are waking up, or they're seeing things, or they're recognizing stuff that we didn't see this before. And it's like we're all, yes, again, we're all part of it, we're all connected. And like I describe to people, like I moved out from my home state of Wisconsin, which is in the middle part of the US, and I came out here 25 years ago when I was working for the lodge, and then unfortunately that job changed, and I left. I came back. I've been here 3 times in this area within 50 miles of each spot. I can't leave. This is, again, third time. I'm like, I'm stuck here. It's like there's a reason God or source, divine word wants me here. But I knew all the connections and everything else that happened. So it's like, okay, I'm here. So either I'm part of the grid where, okay, Rodney's here, who else is over here? And just, we're put where we need to be just to affect that area. And again, no one's above each other. No, let's say I'm not above anyone else in my life experience, my spirituality, or anything else. I'm equal to everyone here. This is my truth and my part. So,
Well, I absolutely love that. Rodney, where can people get hold of you?
best way they can get a hold of me is if you ever send me an email, you can do it that way. It's rod, period, Rieder, Rieder, at yahoo.com. And that's probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Lovely.
But
I'll post that link. Yeah, I'll post that link below. And then, yeah, I could talk to you for hours. I'm just fascinated with this stuff, and you've got such an amazing energy. So thank you for being here and not leaving.
oh, no problem. We're here.
Yeah. Well, before we go, do you have a message for the viewers?
I just basically most put that theme in there. I mean, it's just, again, keep pushing forward. Right now, yes, we are in the greatest of times. I am in the greatest chapter of my life now, is how I like to send out a decree. And I tell it to our people is, look at these decrees. Look at ways to change your life, these positive affirmations. I didn't realize that I was going to take a step back, too, that I found out about I am affirmations. I was doing this even before I found out about these books. And I didn't realize for a very second here. I'm like, I am this, I am that. And then there's songs that just have showed up in my life. And I said, the more you know I am, the more you know your God's self, so many things will happen for you. But you have to consistently use it. And the more you know that you are, we're all together in this thing. We're all one. Everything is coming together. And what you're seeing in life right now, all these challenges, all these things, that again is where I talked about the vibrations. When you're going to a higher vibration, people talk about we're going to the fifth, sixth density, whatever else, vibratory things, where right now the low stuff is coming up. You're going to see turmoil. You're going to see these things, but know in your heart that everything is working out by God's plan or the divine source plan. Natural law is all coming together. But again, you have to consciously think the positives. So many people will start seeing the negatives and they'll start processing the brain. When you think, whatever comes out of your voice, and a lot of these teachings, they've talked about it, where if you could see what is coming out of your voice, you would be in disgust. You would have wrapped yourself up into a white linen sheet and put you away into a sane asylum to see what human creation has created. But through my decrees, everything I say, through my mighty iron prince, all human creation, you have no power. They do not have power over us. Again, a lot of people feel like they feel the energies coming off of people. The more you find ways of protection, crystals, talismans, other things that you can help your mind concentrate or your intentions focused on, gives you protection against these other negative vibrations. But the more you raise your vibrations through these other methods or awareness, you block these things. But you're also still attract them too, because you're the light. And so you just got to keep pushing forward day and day, focusing on others and help. Your light will get stronger and stronger, that eventually these people can't come to you. And I will tell you, yes, a lot of your false friends and everything else will leave you. A lot of people will leave you hanging. You're going to be left alone in a lot of places, but you're never alone. Those ascended masters, your angels, your guides, all these little creatures that come around and little birds that come on and chirp next to you. I have a hummingbird and I have a sparrow every morning come on by me when I'm out sitting outside. and they chirp and they just know they're there. But it's like those are all signs to me. Those are all just showing that I'm divinely protected. You know, I have a couple. I have a gosh hawk that's one of my um, uh, guides and stuff like that. I've got him on tattooed on my hand. He's big up here, but they show up and they're there. And but the more you and then you say, "I'm with gratitude. I'm grateful to see you today. I'm grateful." Anytime you can give gratitude, that's just more energy that's building up around you. And that's again, that's why I guess I'm here, because as much as I hear the engines in the background of the fire trucks and the police cars and everything else going, or neighbors yelling at each other, I just go, I'm here for a reason. I am the divine light. I'm here to help and assist others daily. I am drawing forth others onto the pathway of light. And when you focus on that and just know it, your whole paradigm changes. You know that this is nothing. This is a short-term thing. You're going to be in a better place very soon, even more. And as this golden age approaches even more, you're going to still feel more connections and more things and reach out to more people and see more people like me and watch your channel and enjoy what's going on. So just get ready for the ride.
Thank you. And I love that. And it's true. We all have signs and we all have guides around us all the time. Nature responds at every single moment. You just got to be
Yep.
awake to it.